country's gone to pot. What's over the last few hours, it seems that the entirety of the West Coast is in flames. It's awful to see, but I honestly have no idea what's going on. So I thought, who better to speak to? What's the crack?
Yeah, so LA County is on fire right now. And for a very long time, President Trump and the actual experts have been warning all of those elected officials that they need to start clearing up their forests because their forest is vulnerable to catching fire and it's spreading rapidly. And what's happening now? Well, what you're seeing play out. There's all these random fires popping up. And I don't want to say that they're naturally occurring because I don't think that's actually the case. We know that back in the 90s, there were the issues, the illegal aliens who were coming into our country and were trying to keep warm in the wooded areas and were setting fires. And that was happening then. So we don't know if these are naturally taking place or if these are being caused by reckless individuals or intentionally being caused. That also does happen. But just to kind of highlight all of this, we have Governor Gavin Newsom, who's obviously a very left-leaning governor, has just decided that he was going to ignore all of President Trump's recommendations over the last 6 years on how he could get these forest fires under control. And he has refused to do just that. And then the local officials in the county, LA County, have done a horrific job. According to a lot of reports, firemen are turning to fire hydrants and trying to just put out fires, but there's no water coming out, which means the reservoirs were never filled up, which is a huge local issue. And so sadly, a lot of these individuals who live in LA County are learning the hard way about politics. Now, it's usually, according to like the maps, and if you look at how they vote regularly, it's about 80% Democrat. And
Yeah.
so these are all their people that they put in place. Even the mayor was gone. She was in Africa, in Ghana. She was at their inauguration. And so she was not in the area when all this started up. And she just came back yesterday,
What?
it looks like.
The mayor,
So
the mayor of
it's
where?
insane. LA City,
The
so Los
mayor of
Angeles.
LA was in
Yes.
Africa.
She was in Ghana, correct, at the inauguration.
All right,
Yes.
let's pause that for there for a minute because I've got a few clips that I want to go through with you. Because first and foremost, this has long been predicted. If we look at this first clip of Rogan, and I couldn't find the original Rogan clip, but here's a guy showing us a clip of Rogan.
Yeah.
So I was talking to this guy, and he was telling me, he goes, dude, one day, he goes, it's just going to be the right wind, and fire's going to start in the right place, and it's going to burn through LA all the way to the ocean, and there's not a thing we can do about it. I go, really? He goes, yeah, we just get lucky. He goes, we get lucky with the wind. He goes, but if the wind hits the wrong way, it's just going to burn straight through LA, and there's not going to be a thing we can do about it.
So first and foremost, it seems like this was predicted, but making it
Yeah.
worse than that, knowing it may happen or was going to happen, what did the politicians do about it? Now, this next clip I want to show you is a chap who went through why this is actually the fault of the Democrats.
All of you in California dealing with these wildfires, I want you to know that without a doubt, 100%, this is the fault of the Democrats you elected. Because there are 4 actions taken by the Democrats that are directly responsible for why you're enduring this wildfire. The first being your state stopped clearing the brush. They didn't want to spend state money anymore on maintaining and clearing the brush that starts these wildfires, and they figured they would save money by not doing it, and then after the wildfire, they would get federal funding to take care of all the emergency stuff. They have just decided that it's cheaper on the state to not prevent them from happening, and after they happen, use federal FEMA funds to take care of it. Reason number 2 while you're enduring these wildfires is your mayor in LA decided to cut firefighter funding by $17.5 million. Now, it's less than what she wanted to cut. She wanted to cut $23 million. But yeah, she cut 17.5. Oh, and she took that money plus an additional $4 million and spent it on taking care of illegal immigrants. See, the mayor of LA decided to spend $21.8 million taking care of those people. And she was able to get most of that money from the fire department. Lastly, our government has taken money from fire departments all throughout the United States and spent them fully equipping and fully funding 16 Ukrainian fire departments. Those fire departments have reported to international media that they are fully equipped and ready for any emergency. So if you're wondering why you're dealing with these wildfires, it's because your fucking state stopped clearing the brush, your mayor in LA cut $17.5 million of your funding and spent all that money on illegal immigrants, and all around the country we've taken money from fire departments to make sure Ukraine is fully equipped for any emergency. Thank God it's less than 2 weeks till we have to stop dealing with this dumb shit. Except for those of you in California, you re-elected the Democrats, so enjoy
I mean,
that.
he makes a fair point. This is absolutely insane. So not only did they know this was going to happen, not only did they not put any preventative measures in place, they actively decided it's better to react to a horrible situation like this because it's cheaper. And not only that, not only is it cheaper for them to react, but also they spent money elsewhere abroad on foreign fire services that they could have spent on fire services in California. I mean, Brianna, please make this make sense.
It doesn't make sense. It only makes sense if you hate your people. That's when it makes sense. And the other side of all of this is it actually helps Gavin Newsom and all of his buddies over at the World Economic Forum who push that climate change narrative that they love so much. It's obviously false, but California will claim that they've just been combating all of these wildfires that won't stop just randomly popping up. And it's all due to climate change. And there's over 500, I mean, they'll just pop out all these insane numbers. Let's just say $50 billion of damage is what it's caused. And they'll just keep throwing those numbers out there to make it seem like it's an actual issue. But it's not an actual issue because it's preventable. And time again, we see it's preventable. You know, if you live in the state of California, you're very well aware that insurance companies actually just started dropping customers because they're not making any money. They're losing money in the state of California, and California wasn't allowing them to raise their rates. And so what happened was a lot of these insurance providers were like, well, you're not maintaining your land. You're not letting us raise your rates. So there's just way too much risk involved. And they pulled out of California and they're done. And a lot of people were upset. And I think there was a lot of floating out the ideas that maybe these insurance companies knew something was coming. But it's literally their job to assess the risk, and the risk was too high. So if you live in the state of California and your insurance company goes, hey, the risk here is too high, they're not properly maintaining the lands, they're not filling the water reservoirs, we're not going to be covering you guys anymore, chances are you should also be fleeing with the insurance companies as well.
I mean, it's political negligence on one part, but who can blame the insurance companies for saying, well, it's just not in our interests to serve this area because this area isn't being looked after? It's awful. And this is the man in charge. Governor Gavin Newsom, or as people in California call him, Governor Hair Care. Let's have a look at what he's had to say.
Phase. We're in the public safety phase.
I hate to even ask this question, but the president-elect chose to attack you, blame you for this.
One can't even respond to it. I mean, it's people are literally fleeing. People have lost their lives. Kids lost their schools. Families completely torn asunder. Churches burned down. This guy wanted to politicize it. I have a lot of thoughts, and I know what I want to say. I won't. I stood next to a president of the United States of America today, and I was proud to be with Joe Biden. And he had the backs of every single person in this community. He didn't play politics, didn't try to divide any of us.
I mean, I don't believe that to be true. I believe that to be a lie. But what are your thoughts? Should this man be taking the blame? Is it politicizing a disaster to say, no, you've been in charge for, what, 5 years as governor and 8 years as in local office before that? Should he take some of the brunt?
Oh, it's all his fault. He's been warned. President Trump has been warning him for years. There's all these tweets of President Trump screaming at him. There's the in-person discussions when the last couple were happening, and President Trump was literally standing next to him and saying, there's other countries that don't have these issues, and we probably should be asking them for help. So yes, he's had ample time to fix these issues. He's the governor of California. But the best part is he cites that he was standing next to the president of the United States just yesterday. He's referring to Joe Biden, in case you don't know who that man is, and Joe Biden probably doesn't even know himself.
I forget he's still the president.
He forgets himself. It's actually very easy to forget that. But he was there at the press conference yesterday talking with Gavin Newsom, and he decided to stop the press conference, tell everyone, the world, that today was a good day for him because he's a great grandfather now. I mean, the guy's gone completely. And so when he sits there and tells you that, like, he's got the support of President Joe Biden, I don't think he really does, because Joe Biden doesn't even know what kind of support he has. But to go back to the politicization of all of this, I think that's a really key point. Democrats, after a shooting here in the United States, every time they won't even know how you obtain the firearm, how the shooter obtained the firearm. The first thing they say, we need more gun control. We need more gun legislation. They don't even know how the shooter got the weapon. And most of the time they don't get it legally anyway. So laws don't stop those situations from taking place. But they have no problem doing that even before the victims' families are informed that they lost their loved one. So here he is saying that President Trump is trying to politicize this when, in fact, President Trump is just trying to say how you could have prevented this from happening in the first place. That's not politicizing it. That's just you being arrogant and not wanting to listen because you have an agenda that you're looking to push, and you don't care about the billions of dollars in damages you just caused, how many people just lost their homes. And he brings up the church. When was the last time you think Gavin Newsom ever walked into a church?
That's a good question. And I think you're absolutely spot on in that the left do politicize disasters to their own political advantage. In the United Kingdom, my homeland, we're not allowed to carry arms. We're not allowed to bear arms, so we have no defense against tyrannous government. Why? Because there was one mass shooting in Dunblane in 1997. They used that as a way to take our guns away from us. This is what the left does. But I think something's changing, Brianna. I think the mood is shifting, and even Hollywood is speaking out against the Dems. Let's have a look at this. This next clip is a Hollywood actor.
Incredible mismanagement, incredibly poor leadership. I would go so far as to say that it's criminally negligent, because, I mean, Gavin Newsom has been either the governor for 5 years or lieutenant governor prior to that for 8-9 years. Some of the worst fires we've ever had in California under that watch. He clearly knows that the biggest problem that we suffer in California are these fires, and by the way, the mudslides that follow. And for them to do essentially not just nothing, but worse than nothing when firefighter budgets are being cut, when they are specifically intentionally not doing the work that could be done to avoid these problems or to be able to effectively serve them when they are happening, we are losing, I mean, I think it's something like millions of acres of feet of water runoff from rain and snow every year in California. As you pointed out, I think the smelt have something to do with that. That's an acre foot of water, by the way, is about 330,000 gallons of water. And there's millions of those that are just rolling.
He's echoing the thoughts of a guest on a Joe Rogan podcast. Now, for a Hollywood actor, and this is a big name, Zachary Levi, he was in Shazam. You know, for a big actor to say something like that, they would have to consider, is this damaging to my image? And actually, it doesn't seem it is. It seems like he's on the side of the people here with this. Is that a shift in the attitude? Are the people of California finally turning against their Democrat rulers?
I hope, because the option here, and not many have spoken out about these issues. I don't think they actually realize that this is a local issue, that their local officials have failed them. They need a lecture about how politics work in this country. They always want to lecture others, but they need to be the ones being lectured at this point. I fear that if they don't get told why this took place in the first place, why this all happens, that they will begin becoming WEF, if they're not already, WEF mouthpieces, lecturing the rest of us about how fossil fuels created these wildfires, and then telling us that we need to reduce our fossil fuels so that their beautiful homes in Malibu on the water don't burst into flames. I mean, these people have done so much damage. And I understand we don't want to beat them when they're down right now, but the harsh reality is they voted for these things. There was a huge lake, and Calvin, I just sent it to you via DMs. I don't know if you could pull it up, or you could just Google it. There was a huge lake in California that so many Americans have completely forgot about, and now it's completely gone. It was the 9th largest lake in the state, I believe, or even in the country. I'm not sure if it's country or state, but it's completely gone right now. And nobody knows why they drained that lake. That would have been great for LA right now. They had the resources. There were never any of these water issues until overregulation started taking place. And individuals need to realize that. These things only happen because Democrats made sure that it was going to happen. And politics do play a key role in all of this. You know, I live in Florida. When we have a hurricane, obviously that's not preventable. There's nothing we can do to stop hurricanes. Governor Ron DeSantis has a plan in place, and we're back up and running the very next day, most part. We don't really have a lot of issues. Yes, those who live on the beach do, but that's what you get when you own a home on the beach. Right. You kind of know it in the state of Florida. It's completely different. So politics really do play a key part in all of this, and they need to realize that.
Thank you for watching my Common Sense Crusade. If you'd like to watch the whole show, you can subscribe to lotuseaters.com for as little as £5 per month, and then you get access to a bank of content as well. My show is 3 p.m. every Thursday. See you there. Deus Vult.